Throughout this documentary series, we've looked at innovative business solutions that all seek to help not only the global ICT community go green, but also every other sectors and industries. Telecommunication can make a big difference in the public policy around climate change. Overseeing the policy and direction of the global ICT community is the International Telecommunications Union.
ITU was formed a long time ago, 1865, and its remit then was to ensure that we had interoperability of international communications, and we started developing standards to ensure that. So really today, after all that time, that's still our main remit, is to ensure interoperability of international communications.
The ITU estimates that there are over 300 ICT standards bodies in existence today. It is seeking to streamline this oversight process and act as a coordinator of the work.
Any of our study groups starting work on a new standard, they have to look at these criteria in this checklist on environmental issues. Mainly it's energy consumption. So that we will ensure that any developed standard is going to be as energy efficient as possible. VDSL2, for example, has got 3 power levels now, whereas VDSL1 was on full power the whole time. So we have a few checklists for the start of our work on any new standard.
In the US, the industry is represented by organizations such as the Telecommunications Industry Association.
TIA, Telecommunications Industry Association, mostly focuses on policy, standards, environment, networking, and intelligence. We're providing the industry information to be compliant. We're trying to allow for every company from small to large to know what they need to be compliant with, whether it's government-driven or company-driven. I think we understand that governments have put out regulations and also directives, and these EUP and Design for Environment allow companies to have creativity when when arriving at how they're going to design their product. And the greener they can design their product, the more it's going to give them leverage in the marketing of that product.
World leaders will meet in Copenhagen in December 2009 for the United Nations Climate Change Conference. They are seeking a global climate agreement to take us up to 2012. For the UN to succeed, ICT will have to play a major role.
We know that sooner or later, hopefully before Copenhagen, but definitely after Copenhagen, we will see that the current approach is not sustainable. It's not good enough. So at that stage, heads of states will meet in Copenhagen and they will ask the question, why aren't we pushing these things forward? And at that stage, then we can bring things together. But usually when you look incremental short term, everybody's stuck in their own positions. But we know that society changes every once in a while. There might be a September 11th, but for climate change instead. Then people will start asking these questions. So what I'm excited about is that we have these kind of collaborations now with world-leading companies. So we are ready with methodology, with cases, with policy suggestions. So it's ready.
More and more governments are coming to the realisation of the potential for ICT, particularly in the carbon footprint debate. The environment, climate change debate. So, this is an extraordinary technology that will transform the way we live our lives. And I know that worldwide there is enormous interest in benefits of ICT for climate change.
If the industry is to prove itself to be a major facilitator for green policy, then operators need to adopt a harmonized approach and take action together, not just for lobbying their case, but also for conforming to common standards.
By the end of this year, when we get into the more political discussions around climate change, what the industry really needs to do is to have a solid case and examples and ways to calculate and ways to demonstrate the potential that telecommunications and ICT more broadly can bring to the discussion. We need to be able to show, we have our own estimates within our sector that shows by 2020 that ICT can contribute as much to 15 to 20% of global reduction in CO2 emissions. That message we understand in the ICT sector, or most of us understand, but in a way it's preaching to the choir. We need to get that message out to the policymakers and the key decision makers, whether that's the mayor in a city or another type of policymaker. That's the target audience for this type of information.
ICT can also help with climate research. The typical locations for climate research, such as the polar ice caps, glaciers, volcanoes, the ocean bed, or the upper layers of the atmosphere, are inhospitable, and remote monitoring and data collection using ICT-equipped sensors is essential for research.
Our awareness of the challenge of climate change has really come hand in hand with the development of tools for monitoring changes in temperature. There are several ICTs that are particularly important in this area. One, obviously, is satellites and the use of satellites both for remote sensing, but also use of satellites for mapping and for meteorology. A second area which ICTs have been used is in terms of sensors. For instance, to locate the movement of ice shelves or to locate the movement of glaciers, one needs fairly sophisticated networks of sensors that can report their location, for instance, by using GPS, global positioning by satellite. And by measuring over a period of months, years, the microscopic movement in those sensors, we can get a much greater sense of the extent to which the ice shelves within Antarctica or the glaciers are actually melting.
Telecommunication can make a big difference in the public policy around climate change. And the smart use of telecommunications has already proven to be a viable means of offsetting the global CO2 emissions.
Now more than ever, we need that spirit that exists in the information communication technology field, that spirit of innovation, of entrepreneurship, that orientation around taking risks, making mistakes, and learning from their mistakes, mistakes being a portal of discovery. So my message to municipal leaders is take that spirit, that quality of innovation to the municipal sector, to the public sector. It is ready, fire, aim right now. We don't have the time to be patient here and wait for someone else to figure this out. Telecommunications, you get that. You don't exist. You reinvent or die. Government needs to adopt that same strategy because literally, in this case, if we don't reinvent, we will die. The planet is in peril.